Now, are these drugs being sold on the street, these prescription drugs?
Pretty much. I mean, some people come by them, you know, by virtue of having a prescription. Yeah. And then when that prescription runs out, they're turning to other sources, illegal sources, to buy them. I mean, the prescription drug problem isn't isolated to just one area in our country. It's nationwide. There's been problems in certain regions where the legislation around the control of the selling them hasn't really been as stringent or as tight as it can be. But some of those things are changing. You know, we had in the recent past situations where you could go to certain states and you could buy them in wholesale quantities and go back to other states and sell them. But the legislation and the bureaucracy is coming around to really see that that's a problem and is beginning to make changes.
Now the children, you know, high school and middle school and such, what are they taking prevalently?
Well, it's an ongoing problem for, you know, I would say in the high school. I'm not sure about middle school. And, you know, when I work with some of the kids, you know, some of the thinking is, well, this can't be such a bad thing because it's made by a pharmaceutical company. Yeah. So it's not like I'm buying something someone cooked up in their basement, like, you know, crystal meth might be, but it's still, you know, there's a lack of awareness about about how much of a problem it can cause long term. And kids now, I mean, kids are going to be kids. They're going to experiment or try out or test limits on a lot of different things. Unfortunately, when they start experimenting or testing limits with drugs, there's that addiction part of it that they don't realize that flirting with or that experimenting with unconsciously or unknown to them can become an addiction. I had someone sit in my office one day and said, you know, I started just doing this in the summer one time with my friends, just kind of because everybody was doing it. And, you know, I thought it was something I wanted to try. And here I am a year later, and this pill has control of my life. It's dictating how I spend my money, what I do with my time, who I see, where I go. He said, I didn't think anything could ever have that much control over my life. And he found this was having that. And that was a wake-up call for him when he was able to see how much of a control this particular thing had on his life.
Now, you haven't mentioned anything about alcohol.
Well, now alcohol, that's you know, a huge problem. I mean, and it's been an ongoing problem for our country, for the world, really, in terms of the problems it can cause long term. And now alcohol is another one of those substances. Since it's legal, since you can buy it at the age of 21, there is that, you know, I don't know how to say it, but maybe just kind of the stigma, the positive stigma that it's not a bad thing. You know, in certain cultures, a little bit of wine with dinner is routine for you as an adolescent. It's part of the culture. So alcohol is another thing that's very difficult to work around. And alcohol is the one drug that when a person becomes addicted to it, it can compromise many different health systems in your body. You know, it's the one drug that can affect pretty much every organ in your body. Now, you know, we live on Nantucket. We're a resort community. People come here to relax and have a good time. And at different times, alcohol becomes a part of that, you know. And all we can really do in terms of trying to address that issue is just continue to educate the public, continue to take the opportunities when they're presented to talk about and look at honestly what problem it may be causing for you. What I say to people is, if you kind of stop and think and ask yourself and honestly answer, have there been situations where, you know, my alcohol use has created a problem at home, at work, for me personally, for me physically? If you get a yes to one or two of those things, then it might be something you need to take a look at. It might be something you need to seek an outside opinion on.
Do you have people come in and say, I think I've got a problem, and ask you to try to determine whether they got a problem or not?
All the time. And it's because of the different things that go on in our society where certain things are looked at as being not such a bad thing, then they'll come to us and they'll say, well, I think I might have a problem. You know, I found myself blacking out a couple of different times, and you know, I found a couple of times where I spent my rent money on these drugs and I didn't really want to. So what we do is we kind of go through a process, gathering information not only about their own past, but about their family's past, trying to see if there's some genetic factor, because addiction can be hereditary. So we try and look at a picture of the whole person in terms of what kind of work they've done, what their history has been at work. Have you had any difficulties at work in the past? Have you had difficulties in relationships where you can see that alcohol was a part of why that problem was, or drugs were a part of why that problem occurred? And we try and then help the person see that, maybe there's a pattern here. And if there is a pattern, then we talk about, well, how can we change this? What steps can we take? What natural supports do you have in place? And then what outside supports are you comfortable with taking? Like the 12-step programs, the AA, the NA programs are hugely effective because that gives a person an opportunity to be with a group of people who are looking at the same issues. Some are at different stages in the process. Some are right where they are, just coming through the door, trying to figure out, is this going to work for me? Am I comfortable with this? Sitting in a room with other people talking about my problems, and then being able to hear other people who've been there 3, 6, 12 months and have found that it does work after getting past some initial discomfort with that kind of setting. Because, it's not a natural state to go in a room with people you don't really know and just talk about your problems. But it's very effective. It doesn't seem like it would be, but it is very effective. Because I think we know just from looking at different things that isolated by myself, trying to accomplish something can be difficult. But I would get support from others to accomplish that goal. More than likely, I'll be able to accomplish it.
Do you run any groups that?
We offer a relapse prevention group, a psychoeducational living and balance group. We have a dual diagnosis disorder group. We have a variety of groups that we offer to people for.
How about the drunk driving?
Now, that's the drunk driving is a group we offer, but 99% of the time is something that people have been mandated to attend.
Yeah.
The DAE program, driver alcohol education. It's what a person who's convicted of a first offense drunk driving will have to go to. And we also are contracted with the state to provide the educational program and the treatment program for second offense DUIs. And I run that group myself.
Yeah.
I might do like 2 a year because it's a 17-week program. And unfortunately, we're not staff strong enough where I can run 2 concurrently, so some people might come in and have to wait. But it's a 17-week program that the state kind of gave us an outline, and we've kind of, each agency is allowed to have a little bit of flexibility in how they put the program together. And I think it's set up over a long period of time to really give myself time to kind of get to know the person, to then, they'll let the barrier down and maybe take in some of this information. For me personally, I look at it as an opportunity that we have to interface with people in the community who may have had a drunk driving offense, may not necessarily be an alcoholic, but might benefit from the information, and then also be able to talk to other people. I've had so many people come back to me and say, it's from that class, that DUI I got, that I was able to see that so-and-so really had a problem, and I was able to kind of point him in the right direction. And, because he saw me go through the class and kind of not have a problem and not think it was like something where I was really embarrassed or put on the spot. Because I work real hard at kind of trying to give people an opportunity to relax.
Yeah.
And just kind of realize, I understand you don't want to be here. I get that. But let's just take this opportunity and you get something. Because it does cost like almost $600 that the person has to pay for the class. So I say, in this day and age, do you just want to spend $600 and just sit there for 17 weeks? Don't you want to get something out of it? Kind of make me earn my money here, that kind of thing.
Now, one last question. Do you see a difference in how you treat, let's say, the Latino Americanos and the normal Americans and such? Is there a difference depending on?
Part of my training in substance abuse, there is a culture which you have to be is what's called culturally competent. You have to, there's different trainings that I've had that teach you to help you understand that when you work with people from different cultures, you have to kind of meet them where they are in terms of what their belief system may have been, what their upbringing may have been in relationship to their culture, and you have to find the niche where you can get in and then kind of help them see and recognize that what the problem is. So culture to culture, it varies how you approach someone.
So, Mayo, how do people get in contact with you?
Well, we're in the phone book, either under Nantucket Behavioral Health Services or Family and Children's Services of Nantucket. Our main number that you want to call is 508-228-2689. And we got a great person at the reception desk, Susan. She'll help you get all the information we need, and I'll give you a call back if I'm the person that you need to talk to. But remember, we do provide not only services for addiction, but also for mental health issues that can occur at the same time.
Dual diagnosis.
Dual diagnosis, yes.
Well, that's wonderful. I really appreciate you coming in.
Oh, it was great. Thanks for having me.